Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports, where husky middle-aged men share their insights on the latest and greatest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we are breaking down the Ravens, the Orioles, the Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts right now. All right, welcome in, folks. Whether you're driving into work on summer Monday or you are joining us late this evening on Sunday, it's good to have you alongside. John and I are hanging out tonight. Say hi to everybody, John.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be with you this evening. It's hot. It's humid. It's Florida. In
Yeah.
beginning of August. And we're starting school this week, so school buses are all out driving their routes with no kids and causing all kinds of mayhem on my way to work. And it's a wonderful time to be alive.
Gotta love it, right? When that red stop sign comes out and you gotta wait, for those kiddos to get on and off the bus. We don't have that issue quite yet up here in Maryland. And actually, this weather this past weekend that we had in Maryland was unseasonably cool. So we had a couple days in the 70s, very low 80s. It was amazing this past weekend in Maryland. But John, what have you been up to down there in sunny FLA besides, trying to hustle people to buy in some of these electric cars that you got?
Yeah, not so much electric cars anymore. Lincoln's kind of shying away from doing electric cars, but yeah, just not much. Going to church, get to church this morning, and went out to lunch with my kids at a barbecue place, and just watch some baseball this afternoon, and just kind of. I usually work Monday through Saturday, so take the Sunday and relax a little bit. Check out. Okay, so I don't know if you have grocery stores like that. I don't know if like Giant does that up there, but like at Publix, they do like BOGO every week. And it's always like exciting on Thursday morning to open your Publix app and see like what the BOGO is. So you like can try new things and not like feel bad about spending $10 for an 8-pack of water because you get 2 8-packs of water for $10.
So you get double. If you don't like it, you get double of what you don't like. That sounds amazing. And you know what? This shows our age right now because you're talking about how exciting you're getting over a buy one, get one. What was it? Publix publication?
Publix, yes.
So,
Publix
oh
grocery
my
store.
gosh.
So like this week, I tried Liquid Death, a couple different flavors, and they were good. I tried some Absolute vodka drinks. They have like vodka and cranberry, vodka and cran grape, and pineapple, and then a couple different kinds of Doritos. So I got to keep the dad bod in good working order. Try to be healthy with the water, though.
That's right. Liquid Death. That sounds like an amazing hydrating formula that they have there in a can, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it tastes very good, and there's no sugar or anything in it. So I figure it's probably pretty good for you.
Okay, I've seen Liquid Death, in passing in people's hands or on the shelves. Like, so tell me what that gimmick's all about. Like, because obviously, I don't do the seltzers, I don't do the flavored waters, the vitamin waters. I never really have taken to that. If I want water, I'm going to drink water. Like, I don't want anything added to my water. So tell me why Liquid Death is different than water.
Well, they come in all different flavors, but they also come in flavors of like soda. So like there's a cola, there's a mountain, I don't know what they call it, mountain flash or something. There's a different flavored like what you consider soda flavors. But there's no sugar, there's no artificial sweeteners, there's no like artificial flavors or anything. It's basically just water that tastes like soda. And it's very good. I never tried. I tried Liquid Death iced tea before, and that was really good. So I figured, well, maybe the water's good too, and it's BOGO. So I'll get 2 different ones, and if I don't like one, then I'll give it to somebody, and if I like both of them, then it's a plus for me. But it was actually very good. Tasted like cola. Like if I mixed it with something, it would have been a good mixed drink.
Is it carbonated or is it just?
Yes. Yeah, it's carbonated. Yeah.
Interesting. I think I'm not going to give that a try, but I'm just going to trust you on the amazingness of that. I have a love-hate relationship with soda. I absolutely love Coca-Cola, but it doesn't love me back. So like today, we went down to the beach this weekend for sand soccer. which is pretty cool. It's like a tournament they set up at Ocean City, Maryland. They do it like twice a year, where the kids they get out on the beach and they wear. You can either go no shoes or you can wear like these booty socks that they make for sand soccer, and you basically play 4-on-4 with a goalie in a small sided field. It's a lot of fun. The kids prop the ball up for free kicks and kick it in, and it's kind of mayhem because you're trying to make a move, but you're on sand, so you're falling down. It's more like it gets WWE ish at points in time because the girls are just tangling in the middle of the field, the ball's bouncing all over the place, and it's just a lot of fun. And I took my girls soccer team down just to have some fun and enjoy the beach time. We had the beautiful weather for it. But long story short, speaking of soda, I grabbed a soda for the trip home because it's a 3-hour ride or whatever. I always just need something to pick me up while I'm driving. And it did not agree with me when I got back home. I was rushing into the house to make sure I got first dibs on the restroom facility as we got into the house today. So not one of my finest moments.
But see, I thought Coca-Cola was supposed to be good for your stomach. Like whenever I got a stomach ache, like you're supposed to drink either Coke or like ginger ale.
I know ginger ale. I've never heard Coke, but I know like clear soda I heard is supposed to be pretty good for the stomach. But I don't know. It was okay. I figured things out. I'm good right now, but it wasn't a happy moment. Today's my birthday, and my family was awesome. They treated me so well today. We got to kind of do whatever Mike wanted to do, which was an excellent, absolutely fun day. And we were down the beach, obviously, this morning. So here's my question for you, John. You're me. What is your list of things down? You've been to Ocean City, Maryland, yes?
Yeah, when I was a little kid.
Okay. Think about your beach resort town. Mm-hmm. I need a top 5 things that John would do, or think about maybe what I would do if you were down the beach with your family. And let's see if you hit on some of the things that we did today.
Well, I would rent a Land Cruiser and go for a bike ride.
Okay.
I would definitely
That's way too athletic and fit for me, so let's try something else.
Okay. I go find an ice cream shop.
Definitely. We did that today. Yes. Core Brothers soft serve ice cream. That might have contributed a little bit to that visit I had this early, after the trip, but whatever. You got one.
Okay. Let's see. I would put a covering up, like, so I can sit while my children go and run into the water and go play in the waves or do whatever. I'll put a little tent up and so I can be shaded.
So watch the kids play, at the beach. We did that yesterday. I'll give you that one.
Okay. Yeah, I would say mini golf. There's probably a mini golf course not too far away.
Well done. We did play Professor Hacker's Lost Treasure mini golf today, and Dad still remains the reigning champion of mini golf, so that was good.
Okay, so that's 3.
Yep.
Let's see.
Many of these now, the ones that are the rest here, are more specific to Ocean City, probably. Let's see if you can get some of them.
Oh, what's that pizza place? Did you go to the pizza? What's it called?
Dough Rollers is the one in Ocean City, but we did not go there. But you're missing a couple really key food places. One of them is known for their French fries. Have you ever heard of them?
Boardwalk Fries.
Right. Well, Thrasher's is the Ocean City version of Boardwalk Fries, which my wife absolutely adores. We did that yesterday. And she likes the vinegar on the fries. I just can't stand that. But like she dunks them in that red wine vinegar. To me, I'm not a big vinegar guy, but like that was one thing we had to do because she wanted to do that one. But that's one you always do down in Ocean City. So
enlighten me with the last one. What's the last one?
Play golf, man. Play golf. I went to Rum Point Golf Links, which is down by Assateague, and with a friend of mine, we played golf this morning, which was excellent. So you got a bunch of them. Another one that's now a staple down there is Grab and Go Tacos. Amazing little tacos, man. I'm telling you, it's a little taco stand up by Fenwick Island, Delaware. It's just right at the line of Ocean City. But what they do is they have chicken, they have steak, and they have shrimp. And that's basically what they sell. They do some quesadillas and some other things. But they're these little handheld tacos. You can get them. You can take them to the beach with you. You can do carry out. It's just a little taco stand is like taking off, man. But delicious. They have guacamole and a little bit of cabbage in there. It's just really good. Some type of special sauce they don't tell you about. But
wow,
we hit all the things at Ocean City. So it was a good weekend.
Good. Glad you had a good birthday.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So listen, we've got a great show in store for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about Ravens. We're going to talk a little Orioles. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL Hall of Fame, way too early. So we're going to get into some things today, talk about the trade deadline and what went on. But let's start with the Ravens just to change things up a little bit today. The Ravens had their stadium practice today and opened up to some folks there at M&T Bank Stadium, which was excellent. John, what are your thoughts on what you've heard from open practice today at the stadium?
Well, I heard that our running back room looks very, very good. Keaton Mitchell looks like he's the Keaton Mitchell before the knee injury. I heard that our secondary, our number one secondary was putting Alexander with the second team, which I don't know if that's anything to look at or not. But from what I read, they said he was with the Jair Alexander's with the second team. But it seems like everything is beginning to work out well. I'm not gonna say the one thing that nobody wants to say, because that will we'll just call it Festivus. We'll just hope that there's no Festivus. We'll just stick with that, because I'm not going to say it, at least not on the air.
So yes, for now, healthy is a good thing, right? We'll just continue to say we're healthy. Obviously we're not completely healthy. We've already lost our Darius Washington to a major injury earlier on. And obviously we've got Isaiah Likely recovering from the foot surgery he had this week. So there's some injury issues there. It's not like we're completely unblemished in that category, but overall, generally pretty healthy. The thing that stood out to me, I think they said at camp today, was Tyler Loop and how like into it he was, and like dapping it up with his teammates and just making kick after kick. I think they said he made 10 kicks today, or 11 kicks today. I'm sorry. And he made one from 56 and 60, in front of the fans. And it seems like he has an element to his game where he likes playing to the fans, which is kind of it. If you want to have a kicker who enjoys the spotlight, because gosh, that spotlight's on you when you're a kicker every single time you trot out there. And so to hear Tyler Loop kind of basking in the spotlight rather than shying away from it is something that's encouraging to me, watching him kick a few in there, and watching how his teammates and Lamar and coach said he had an A plus practice today, and all good news for those of you guys, wondering about the Ravens kicker situation, considering, we heard earlier this week that they released his competition in Hoyland. And so they've really basically given him the job.
Right. But I listened to Locked On Ravens this morning. And I think you mentioned you listened to it later in the day. But some of these moves that they're making, don't read into them, because they're nothing more than filling spots for the games that are coming up. They picked up a running back who was with what was his name? He was with
Dearness Johnson. Yeah,
Dearness Johnson.
Yep.
Thank you, Dearness Johnson. He's with the Jags and with the Browns in the last number of years. And they were saying, don't read into any of these things. Don't read into them dropping a kicker. Don't read them into picking running back. They're just getting bodies to make sure they have enough bodies to finish the games out. These guys aren't serious contenders to be on the roster or anything. They're just there to help fill the games out. But then we bring back Big Brent Urban. He was third round pick a number of years back, and he's wearing the 58 of Michael Pierce. That's good to see. They're talking about this morning on Locked On Ravens that he's not a huge contributor, but he knocks down passes. He holds blockers up. He does the little things that an interior defensive lineman needs to do to help free up guys like Roquan and everybody else to make things happen. So good to see him. Good to see him back wearing number 58.
Yeah, he's a great depth piece, I think, for sure. You want to have a rotation along the line, and to have somebody like that who knows the system, who's been there before. I think this is his fourth straight one-year deal with the Ravens. He keeps ending up here, goes out and ends up back here, because I think he's more valuable to the Ravens because he understands the Ravens system. He knows kind of the plays and the playbook and feels comfortable with Zo and all those guys back there. And I think it just it's more value for the Ravens to have him back versus him going somewhere else and just kind of having to start over. He's not at that point in his career where he he's going to be a major contributor. So to have him as somebody we can rotate in is excellent. They signed a couple of tight ends, with Likely going down. I saw they waived Pitts. I think Pitts was his name, but they brought in a couple other guys, a couple running backs. They just want to make sure that our real guys are healthy. They have bodies for these preseason games, because you guys know how that goes. Like the starters barely play at all, and then they kind of take over more and more as the preseason goes along, and they play a little more and more. But early on, it's all about seeing these younger guys play and really battle it out and see who can make the team. So I think Thursday is the first preseason game. I'm excited to kind of see, these guys competing. It sounds like, from all accounts, all reporters are saying, man, there's a high octane energy at practice that I would like to see carry over into competition, and to see, the 5th and 6th wide receiver battling it out, the 5th and 6th defensive back battling it out. Because you know what? Your place to shine is in these preseason games. It's really your audition. It's just like an actor on stage, right? You have an audition. This is what it is. It's preseason. That's your audition time for these guys. So can a Bo Braid, can a Sanusi Kane, can a Devontae Walker, is it Wesney that shows some of these guys show up and make a name for themselves moving forward? Because the bottom line is, coaches want to see how you perform on the field in the game. Practice is great, but we all want to see what you're doing with pads on in a game, and who's a baller when it comes game time. It's like the Allen Iverson practice. We talk about practice. We're not talking about a game. We talk about practice. We want to see them in a game.
Right. And I that's why I really like these, like the mixed practices, that they've been going to a lot more in the last probably 5 to 10 years or so, where, you play whoever on Thursday, but 3 days prior, you have a mixed practice with that team. So you're getting a new look at new defenders, new quarterbacks, new things, so that you can work on a lot of your adjustments and things as well, without having practice is just, I guess just as risky as the games, but you're in a much more controlled environment. You're not, in a game where, anything can happen. But, preseason games now, there's just 3 of them. And we all know, Cooper Rush is going to be taking a majority of the snaps. We might bring in another quarterback or 2 to do the third. I think they did that a couple years ago. They just brought in somebody to run the offense and turn around and hand the ball off in that third preseason game. So I'm not reading into anybody they're bringing in right now, because it's just bodies to fill space and to make sure that our core is not doing things that could potentially get them injured.
It looks like Andrew Voorhees has the slight edge on Ben Cleveland right now at the left guard spot. That's really one of the things that I'm looking for, on the offensive line, because you really want that continuity as the season goes along. You want those guys to play together, stay together. Obviously, injury can always throw a big old wrench into that, but if you can get those guys gelling and cohesive early on, it kind of gets that motor going for the entire team. So I want to see how that ends up. I know John Harbaugh has spoken at length that he would like to have that sorted out by the end of the day on Thursday. But those of you guys just looking to.
Well, sorry, Mike. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but here's the thing: Voorhees didn't lose the job last year. Voorhees was, and they talked about this morning on something I was listening to. Might have been Locked on Ravens, might have been ESPN, might have been something else. But they were saying Voorhees didn't lose the job last year. He got hurt. McCary took over, and McCary was doing such a good job that it just didn't make sense to bring Voorhees back and mess up the continuity, like you just mentioned, the continuity of that offensive line. It didn't make sense to bring Voorhees back to mess up the continuity that Stanley and McCary and Linderbaum all had on that left side of the line. So, when I looked at this battle, or quote unquote battle between Cleveland and Voorhees, I, in the back of my head, was thinking it's Voorhees' job to lose, because he didn't play badly last year. And he didn't lose that job. If he hadn't got injured, he would have still been the left guard there.
Well, not to change the subject, but as you look around the NFL at training camp, some of the major stories you're seeing are some of these guys who are not happy with their contract. And maybe you would say they're disgruntled, disgruntled meaning not happy. I don't know that gruntled means you're happy, but disgruntled means you're not happy. So you have Micah Parsons in Dallas, and you have Terry McLaurin in Washington, and both those guys are unhappy. I want to let the Ravens fans know we are good. You're not going to see Terry McLaurin in a Ravens uniform. We have very good receivers and good receiving depth this year. Micah Parsons, I don't think you're going to see him in a Ravens uniform either. Man, that's the sound of that sounds amazing, but they just put all that draft capital into Mike Green, who could be the next guy on the line like that. So I don't see it happening. So I just want to say, let's just take a breath and not overreact. I know in the past, whenever you see a good wide receiver out on the waiver wire or trade rumors, it's like the Ravens need that guy. The Ravens need that guy. They always needed that receiver. It looks to me like the Ravens finally have some depth at receiver and don't need to be in a panic mode or try to do anything drastic.
Absolutely. Micah Parsons, they were I was watching something on Facebook or something. They were talking about the Ravens and what they would need to do to get Parsons. They're going to have to trade Oweh or Green plus at least 2 first rounders and a couple other high draft picks. And that's not the Ravens' way of doing things. Well, you got to remember, Parsons and Oweh are buddies. They were on the same teams at Penn State, and are like I don't know if I didn't read anything if they were like roommates or best friends or things, but they played on the same teams at Penn State. But I that's what it's going to take, in my opinion. Is it's going to be an Oweh or another number one defensive player plus a couple first rounders and probably a second and a third rounder, and that's just not the way the Ravens do business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't look wonderful in purple and black, but you're right. That doesn't fit the Ravens' business model. I think the Jair Alexander is the type of big swing you see the Ravens take. It's still calculated. It's still something that's thoughtfully done. They're not going to, panic or, and I don't think Dallas, I mean, look at all the big name defensive ends that have been upset recently. None of those guys get traded. Max Crosby's still in Vegas. You still have TJ Watt. He's in Pittsburgh. Hendrickson is still in Cincinnati. You still have Myles Garrett in Cleveland. When you have one of the top 5 pass rushers in the game, they just don't go because those guys aren't a dime a dozen. Those guys are hard to find. So Dallas, I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing, but they need to hold on to him, and they will hold on to him. Is my complete guess. But those of you guys looking for Ravens, preseason action, 7 p.m. Coming up August 7th, they take on the Colts at home. So tune in. I'm sure that's on NFL Network, I believe. So you'll be able to take a look at that and see that live and kind of catch some of these for yourself. I'm excited to see some of this for myself since I haven't been able to be out at training camp. So I'll be tuning in myself for that. John, anything to add on the Ravens before we swing a different direction?
No, just the only thing was that I saw a video of Keaton Mitchell just taking the ball up the left side, spinning, juking, and just outrunning everybody. And he was against the first team defense, according to the video I saw. And he's looking like he's back to the Keaton Mitchell that we saw in his rookie year before his knee injury. That he's just as dangerous as Derrick Henry is. If he gets a little bit of space and can turn on the jets, he just, the guy's he's not big. He's not going to run anybody over, but he gets that speed going. Nobody's going to catch him.
He's got to hold on to the football, though. He's got to hold on to the football. I heard twice today he fumbled at practice. So that's one thing that'll get you in John Harbaugh's doghouse quicker than anything is to not hold on to the football. So he better have that football under his pillow tonight. Start learning how to hold on to it, especially when you're battling from behind in this position battle. So Jason knows me better than you, obviously. If you take a look at the comments on the screen, he knew exactly what I did over the last 2 days. Mini golf, pool, beach, ice cream, dumpsters. He knew exactly what was going on. I did do dumpsters, too. We did Core Brothers. John, we got to get you to Ocean City, Maryland, where real crabs exist and life is good. So we'll have to make that a plan here in the future. Get you up here. Get you some real Ocean City stuff. So I have ballpark figures for you tonight. Again, you're by yourself, so I won't kill you. I'll try to give you a few hints here and there to make it a little easier on you. Maybe Jason can chip in on the old chatter. If anybody at home wants to chip in as well, feel free to help John out tonight. With ballpark figures, we ask you to come up with a top 10 list according to a category that I give you. And today is an Orioles top 10 list. And today's Orioles top 10 list is all-time saves leaders for the Baltimore Orioles. Many of these are more recent, meaning since 90s, 2000 and beyond, but there are a couple of older ones that are going to be a little tougher for you to get. But I want to see how you do with this. I think you'll be able to do a good job, John. You're an Orioles connoisseur, if you will. So why don't you go ahead and give me your best shot, 3 strikes, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's go Randy Myers.
All right, Randy Myers is number 7 all time with 76 saves for the Orioles.
Bautista.
Felix Bautista makes the list at number 9. He's got 67 saves.
Jim
and
Johnson.
This is according to Baseball Almanac.
Baseball Almanac, okay. But Jim Johnson.
Jim Johnson, number 3 all time with 122 saves. You're doing a great job, John. Keep it up, brother.
All right. Well, considering last time, I guess Steve Smith Sr. and he wasn't even on the list.
He was 11 to give you a little bit of credit.
Right.
Close.
I know that was not good. Okay. So we got Randy Myers, Jim Johnson,
Felix Bautista was the other one you got.
Felix,
so you
Felix
got
Bautista.
You got 3, 7, and 9.
Let's see. In the 2000s, let's see. Jim Johnson.
You're missing one from the poopy days.
Oh, Armando Benitez.
Nope, he's number 21 all time with 37 saves.
Okay.
Remember, he only took over for Randy Myers after.
That's
Myers
right. That's right. He was on the team for a long time, but he was the setup man.
He was the setup guy for a while,
for an extended period of time. Let's see. I'm trying to think of who is.
Think about the Buck Showalter teams.
Huh. Let me think.
He was lights out, the best closer in baseball.
Oh, what's his name? Oh.
It's also a country in Europe.
Yeah. Zach Britton.
There we go. Zach Britton, number 2 all time with 139 saves for the Orioles.
Number 2 all time. Let's see. Who is it? I was just reading something on one of the baseball sites as I was doing the research for what we were doing earlier, and it was like a picture of like all-time managers' worst decisions, and not bringing in Britton was Buck Showalter's worst decision of all time.
Toronto, right?
With the Blue Jays, yeah,
not good.
So Britton, okay, is what's his first name? I can't think of his first name.
Give me his last name.
Martinez.
Tippy Martinez, 105,
Tippy Martinez.
105 saves. He's 4th all time on the list. Well done.
I couldn't think of his name. Let's see, who was there? So are these newer guys or older guys?
So there should be one more that I think you should get.
Julio.
He's a little older. He was probably when you were like 3 or 4. I don't know how old you are, but he was when you were younger. Probably so late 80s, early 90s. He shares a name with a catcher who played for the Braves.
Let's see. Catcher who played for the Braves.
Well,
I'm going through my list of.
They had the same name, spelled a little different. The same name.
Oh.
He's the number 1 all-time Orioles save leader.
Oh my goodness. I don't have any help. I don't have any help from the peanut gallery.
No help from the fans.
There's nobody here.
They're leaving you hanging.
Oh man. Oh, I know. No. I'm trying to think of Braves catchers. I'm like going through like Brian
Javi
McCann.
Lopez. No,
Javi
Lopez.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So I guess we'll have to help you out with the last few. Do you have any other guesses? What? Number 1 all
Julio?
time.
No, Julio. No, Jorge.
Yeah, Jorge Julio was number 6.
Is he on the list? Number 6.
He was number 6 with 83 saves.
So
you got number 2, Zach Britton, number 3, Jim Johnson, number 4, Tippy Martinez, 6, Jorge Julio, 8, Randy Myers, and 9, Felix Bautista. So you're missing a
Is
couple older folks.
Jesse Orosco on this list?
He wasn't a
Not
closer.
he
He was a
wasn't a
setup
closer,
guy.
but he was on the team for a number of years.
Yeah. No. Nope. He
Okay, I was
didn't
trying to
sniff
think.
this list.
I was going like Jesse Orosco, Arthur Rhodes, kind of those type of guys. That's my only
So
thought.
number 10 from the 70s, Dick Hall.
Yeah,
Dick
I would
Hall
have
had
never no.
58. Eddie Watt had 74 saves. He
Yeah, I
was on
wouldn't
the
have got
Orioles in
that.
the 60s and early 70s. Okay. Stu Miller was fifth with 100 saves. And Stu was on the Orioles in the 60s from 63
Yeah,
to 67. So
would
I
not have gotten.
understand. Yeah. But the one that maybe you could have gotten number one all time, Greg Olson with
Oh
160
yes,
saves.
oh yes. Okay, yeah.
Greg
With
Olson.
one G,
So
with two G's.
two G's. Yep. You remember the catcher, Greg Olson, who played for
Yeah.
Atlanta back in the
Yes.
day.
Yes.
So
Oh,
not bad.
I
Not
knew that.
bad.
I knew that. I knew that.
You batted
The other guys I would have
60%, which
gotten.
would make you, really good shooter in basketball from inside the foul line. So we'll give you that. So
Beyond the
well
arc, I'd
done,
be a Hall of Famer.
John. Why don't you why don't you share where people can find us?
Yeah, you can find us on all social media. We're on X at crabcakes_sports, where we'll make announcements on when shows are coming on and things. We're on Facebook, Crab Cakes or Dad Bods _crabcakes_sports at Facebook and Instagram, and then Dad Bods Crab Cakes and Sports on at gmail.com is a great place to reach us with ideas and any comments or questions that you might have for us. Also, we're on here usually every Sunday night, either 8:30, 9:30. We'll make the announcements on our social media platforms. You can also find us on all your major podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify and iHeartMedia. Amazon is also there, and wherever you get your podcast from. So we'd love to hear from you. Like, follow, auto download. Really helps us out, helps us move up the charts and spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So let's switch gears from the black and purple to the black and orange here a little bit. I know, earlier I said let's talk about the Cubs O's series first, but let's talk about the trade deadline a little bit because I think that's going to obviously have implications on this past series that the O's had for three straight day games this weekend in Wrigley. So the Orioles overall, if we're looking at the trade deadline, traded 9 players for the most part is what we're looking at. Of significance, including Gregory Soto a little earlier on. So they traded Gregory Soto to the Mets. They received prospect Wellington Aracena. Excuse me on these names. I'm going to do the best I can as I'm learning them with you guys. Who was the number 19 Mets right-handed pitcher prospect. And then they traded for Cameron Foster, who was a relief pitcher. They traded Ramon Arias. That one's a little bit of a surprise, potentially. He's somebody who's been a role player here in Baltimore for the last couple of years, but a really invaluable role player, considering he played a lot of time at third base, with Westberg being out here and there and kind of really filled in for us the last couple of years and done a nice job there. He won a Gold Glove. So he has maybe declined a little bit defensively over the past couple of years, but solid pickup for Houston. In that trade, we received a new pitching Palmer here in Baltimore, Twine Palmer. That's like not a ball of yarn, it's twine. So we'll see what he has to bring to the table. He's a low A pitcher, 2.13 ERA, 25% strikeout rate, so high upside guy. One that pulled at the Orioles' heartstrings a little bit probably was to lose Cedric Mullins, who is probably the unsung heart and soul of the team. A little bit, you talk about a guy who kind of wasn't a loud leader, but a quiet leader led by example in the clubhouse. But the New York Mets swing a deal for Cedric Mullins. The Orioles receive 3 pitchers in that deal, including Anthony Nunez, a right-handed pitcher, number 14 in the Mets system, Ramon Gomez, a pitcher who's number 30 in their system, and unranked pitcher Chandler Marsh. So they received 3 pitching prospects for Cedric Mullins, which, John, we weren't sure if Cedric would get traded at the deadline. And then I thought there was value there for a team, especially with the leadership aspects and all the intangibles Cedric brings to the table. And clearly to the Mets, there were.
Yeah, I think The thing with Mullins is you defensively, you know what you're going to get day in and day out. If you get him hot and he stays hot, he's a 2, 3, 4, 5 hitter in your lineup. But that was kind of the whole problem with Mullins in Baltimore is, the month of April and beginning of May, he was hitting, well over 300. He was, on base percentage, I believe it was like 4 and some change, which is amazing. But then, after that, he's nothing. He's a 7, 8, 9 speed guy who once when he gets on base, he's on second base. But then, but outfield wise, I mean, he plays great defense. The game before he got traded, went up over the fence, pulls it in, and then now all you're seeing on Facebook is goodbye Cedric, and then they're taking the videos of all of his highlights and those things. But when you look at the guys we got for him, Gomez was hitting is throwing over 100. He threw 104.5 this year, but he has a lot of control problems. So my guess is they're going to bring that velocity down and try to get him into control. Figure that out. Nunez is a little bit older, but the thing with Nunez is he's only pitched a couple of years. He pitched 2 years in college, and I think he's been in the minors 2 years. So he has a lot less wear and tear.
He's a converted fielder. He was a fielder,
right?
And they converted him. I think he has a long story. Like I'm pretty sure he was a community college guy, and then like he was a fielder, and then he got drafted, and he didn't make it, so he went back into. I think you can't play Division I after you're drafted, but I think he went back and played ball somewhere else in Division II or III, and then got drafted again. And so now they've converted him kind of like in the Michael Givens mold, from a fielder to a pitcher. So I'm really curious. They said he's really got some great stuff. He has a 1.58 ERA in relief across high A and double A. Kind of a common theme in some of the prospects we got. We wanted some people who maybe be ready to step in next year. We didn't get quite as many older prospects as I hoped, but he's got a bright future and a high ceiling.
Absolutely. And like I said, I like the fact with him that you might be able to push that Tommy John surgery out a little bit because he hasn't been, you look at a lot of these guys who are drafted out of college, they've been pitching, 4 years of high school, 2 or 3, 4 years of college. They got a lot of wear and tear on their elbow where he doesn't. He doesn't have as much. So we'll see, how he goes, but he is a little bit older. I think he's 24. Is that what I saw?
Yes. Nunez is 24. Gomez is 23. And Gomez has the fastest fastball in the minors this year. Like you said, 105 almost touching. So, I mean, that's an interesting prospect with command issues. Obviously, I can imagine throwing 105 is a little hard to tame. So if they can get him throwing 98 to a spot, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I think their big thing is going to be is can they get him? And as I was researching a lot of these pitchers, it seems to be the guys, and this is my experience too, as a catcher, having caught guys in college who are throwing mid to upper 90s, is those guys are always having problems with the control. It's the guys, that sitting 88 to 95 who, okay, they don't throw hard enough, but they have to rely on hitting their spots, and they're a much easier person to catch than the guy who's throwing 97 to 100, but can't hit the broadside of a barn, so to speak.
Yeah. So there were some other interesting trades, and I'm going to get down. These are really, I think, the meat of what the Orioles got back. I think the Mullins trade, the Dominguez trade, and the O'Hearn Lariano trade. You look at what we got back there. I think the Orioles totaled 16 prospects in return for all the guys that they were able to deal away at the deadline, and really have, with the 21 guys drafted, have revamped their minor league system altogether. Maybe the prize of the complete deadline deal was the Seranthony Dominguez trade. You trade Seranthony, obviously throwing in the 90s, has developed that split to kind of be able to pitch to both lefties and righties, and did a really good job against the Orioles in the series when he switched sides. But they received Jerron Watts Brown. He's the number 10 prospect. He's already in Double-A in Toronto. So he's a guy that we could possibly see, maybe battle for a rotation spot, maybe a back-end spot next year, and he's a starter. So, curious to see what you think about that, John.
That's I think it's a pretty good trade because you know, he played at Long Beach State. He redshirted, and then he had a breakout season. Then he went and played for Holiday at Oklahoma State after he left Long Beach. He's projecting to be a number 5 starter or a long man out of the bullpen. His best pitch is his slider, um, but the key is for him is he possesses swing and miss stuff. He's got a 93 to 96 fastball. He's got 4 pitches and he has good command of all 4, with the slider being the best of them. So that's a very good thing to hear, is that he's got the swing and miss stuff, because as I was researching some of these other guys, these other pitchers we got, they're more weak to contact people. They're not exactly swing and miss, but he can be a number 4 or 5 starter, sort of a Charlie Morton type, 4 or 5 starter, give you innings out of the bullpen. If we're in the playoffs, that's where those 4 and 5 guys go, right? They're going to the front of the bullpen to give us some innings. And so hopefully, like you said, he'll be up here either a September call up this year, or he'll be battling for a big league slot come spring training next year. Because I think unless we do a ton of signing, there's going to be a lot of battles in spring training next year for the Orioles starting rotation and for their top of their bullpen.
Yeah, and like you said, John, like there's going to be a lot of open spots even right now. As we go into July or August and September, or July trade deadline's over. There are still roster spots open, honestly, and you see the Orioles kind of doing what the Orioles do. They're going in bulk and just getting a bunch of good pitching prospects with good talent. And if they don't stick in the rotation, they'll put them in the bullpen. Like you said, man, like they need to fill some bullpen spots for next year. I think if you look, you got Aiken back, you got Felix back, you've got Cano, maybe Wolfram. I mean, you don't have a ton of guys in the bullpen set for next year. You got to replace your Sotos and Dominguez, and maybe CNL Perez has a reprise. I'm not so sure, but like you're going to use some of these arms that don't pan out as starters in the bullpen and hopefully as matchup guys. And they got a bunch of these guys who can probably pan out in that way. And like you said, a lot like Charlie Morton has that curveball that's nasty and put away. Maybe the slider can be the same thing for Watts Brown. Just have that go-to pitch, and maybe he becomes a 5th starter, or maybe he's Albert Suarez or something like that moving forward. We'll see what happens. As we move forward, the big trade, and we had talked about, will the Orioles package 2 guys together to try to get somebody? We had that debate whether it was more valuable to individually trade each player or to package a couple together to maybe get a little bit higher end prospect. And you see that the Orioles decided to put 2 players together here when they traded Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano to San Diego for 6 prospects. And not only were they able to get more prospects, but they probably got a couple higher end prospects in this deal than they did in their other deals, as they get the number 4 and number 6 prospects from San Diego in their system. So the prize of this was Boston Bateman. What a cool name, double B, a little Boston Bateman action. Left-handed pitching prospect. And then Cobb Hightower was a shortstop, number 6 overall prospect. Tyson Neighbors, right-handed pitcher, number 12 prospect in the system. A younger guy, Victor Figueroa, who's kind of like more of a power hitter, a young international signing. And then Brandon Butterworth and Tanner Scott, both unranked. Butterworth an infielder, and Scott is a relief pitcher. So what do you think of, first of all, how they packaged those guys together, John? And second of all, what the prospect load looks like that we got back for that trade?
I think they did. Laureano has 1 year left after this year of the team option, and then O'Hearn obviously is a free agent. But I think they did well. I mean, here's the thing: the scouting report on Bateman is he's 19 years old, hasn't had Tommy John yet. So, but he's a man in a boy's body. He filled out early. So he's he's in the mid 90s, 95, 96. But the thing with him is he's not overpowering because he doesn't hide the ball well. He's tall and has long arms, but he allows the hitter to see the ball. So that's something that he's going to have to work on, is hiding the ball. But he's developing into a 4-pitch pitcher currently with the fastball and curveball. He's developing a slider and a changeup. He may have some problems with durability, is what the scouting reports all said about him. And he projects to be kind of your 2, maybe 3 starter down the road. not necessarily a top of the rotation type guy, but he could be serviceable in that 2-3 inning eating starting pitching, give the bullpen a day rest.
Well, the question I have about Bateman, is he related to Jason Bateman? Because he's one of my favorite actors. You talk about Ozark, Arrested Development, Horrible Bosses. I mean, some great stuff from Jason Bateman. So does he bring Jason to Baltimore? And Bill Bateman's is one of my favorite wing places from back in the day in Baltimore. Is he related to Bill? So other than that, we'll see what happens as far as the prospect is concerned. Any other intriguing prospects from that trade that you really are kind of looking into there, John?
Well, Neighbors is very intriguing because he is probably, out of all the prospects that we got back, probably the closest to the big leagues. I think he's going to be probably number one to come up because he played 4 years at Kansas State and he's a closer. So he's got an upper 90s fastball with a gyro slider and a power curveball. He strikes out about 38% of the hitters he faces in both the minors and then in high school and college. That number was a little bit higher. So he projects that I think he would be, if we're going to call one of these guys up and see him on the big league roster this year, it's going to be him. And then obviously he'll be, in contention for that setup role next year, unless Cano can figure it out. But, I'm very excited to see him from the videos I've seen and the scouting reports and things that I've read on him. I think he's going to be a good back end reliever for us to get to Bautista.
Well, it's certainly exciting to have a number of options there, and to see that we were able to get a good return, because we've had a trouble, I feel like, at the trade deadline getting good return on solid players. And Laureano, I think they did a great job dealing him at his peak. Like, I hate to say that he's at his peak. Maybe he has found it out, but like, he has not played like this ever before. So to finally get a guy and be able to trade him at his peak value is something that Orioles have really struggled with over the course of at least the last 5-10 years. So to do that with this guy and take O'Hearn and double them up and kind of put them together and get some guys really exciting. I really hope that it pans out for the O's.
And I think the most sorry, Mike. I don't know. Is there?
No, go ahead. Good job.
Okay. I think the guy I'm most excited about is the guy we got for Kittredge in De La Cruz. His name is
well. Before we move on to that, John, let me just talk one more thing about the Figueroa kid that we got in that trade. He batted like 600 in the league that he was in. Which wasn't like it was like the I can't. It wasn't like
was it Dominican League? Was it the Dominican
League?
Yeah,
it was the Dominican League. I was having trouble finding my words there. It wasn't a minor league. It was a Dominican League, and he batted like 600. But even in the minors, he's put up numbers like 400. Like he can hit the ball. Like he is a true prospect. Which I know he was an add-on in this case because he's younger and that kind of thing. He's not quite close enough. I was a little worried about that's how Mike Elias looks into things. I think he sees these guys that he profiles for draft day and he swings and misses on some of these guys. A bunch of these guys were 2024 draft prospects from the Padres, and the Orioles did their homework on all these guys, I'm sure, for 2024. And they're like, oh man, these guys are available. Like, they have an idea who these guys are. It's not like they're just like, I'm going to maybe just throw this out. They know who these guys are because they've done the research over the past few years. So maybe they missed on that guy on draft day and they're like, oh man, what a great chance to pick that guy up. I think he's going to be excellent. So
I'm not as high on Figueroa. As I read the scouting reports, as I read more into it, he's a DH. He can't play in the field. He has 10 errors in 40 games this season. And even in the past, that's been not to be a Debbie Downer, but like in reading the scouting reports. But I mean,
John, he hit 400, buddy.
Yeah, he's hitting over 300 this year in complex league and low A. So, he sits to be a designated hitter. They said there's no way the guy can play defense. There was a couple scouts who were like, he's an add-on. If he makes it to the big leagues, he doesn't even need a glove because the guy can't catch.
Well, obviously that's a major negative. But if he can hit, if the hit tool is there, There's a lot. Ask Harold Baines how it went. Ask David Ortiz how it went. There's some guys who can make a big league career out of just hitting the baseball.
Yeah. Well, and his dad played for the Dodgers, if I'm not mistaken. Figueroa's dad, I was reading somewhere that his dad passed away or something, but he had played for the Dodgers or was in the Dodgers organization. So he has some familiarity with pro ball and things like that too.
Okay, so I know you talked about the Kittredge deal, John. Why don't you elaborate on what you were talking about there for a second?
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited. We traded Kittredge for for a young switch hitting infielder, projected to be the shortstop or a third baseman from the Cubs. I don't remember the last name is De La Cruz.
Wilfrey De La Cruz.
De La Cruz. So if he's anything like the Cincinnati shortstop, even a half of Ellie De La Cruz at Cincinnati, we got ourselves a winner here. But he's a switch hitter. He's only 17. Big thing, and the thing with a lot of these switch hitters that I've seen that are younger is the swing and miss, that they haven't developed enough, and he has a lot of raw power. So from both sides of the plate. So he's going to be a very interesting guy to see. It's going to be 5 years. My guess is he won't be up in the big leagues for another probably 5 years or so. But if he can get power from both sides of the plate and have him, at a shortstop, we're going to have to move on from, Gunnar or Westy at some point in time in the next probably 5 years. I don't think the Orioles are going to spend the money to keep both of them. But in the scouting reports that I read and the videos and things that I watched on him, he looks like if he stays on the straight and narrow, avoids the stupid off the field things like a la Wander Franco, he could potentially be the next big player off the island. And the Orioles could have got a very good deal here for just a back end bullpen arm that wasn't, they're back end bullpen arms. They're a dime a dozen.
I mean, I agree with you, John. And I'm not quite as high as you are on the guy, but I think he is solid. And I think the fact of the matter is, the Orioles have an idea who these guys are. Like they are now in the Dominican market. They are in the international market. They signed him for 2.5. The Cubs signed him for $2.5 million. Like, he's a legit international prospect. I think he's number 19 or something like that overall. And the Orioles probably wanted to sign that guy. They just couldn't and didn't. So they knew he was there. They know what they're dealing with, different from regimes of the past, where they may or may not have their finger on the pulse of what's going on internationally. These guys know who these guys are, and they know when they get the chance to take a swing for certain guys, they are going to do that. And so that's the encouraging part. Again, John, though, youth-wise, 17 years old, we're not going to see him for a handful of years, but maybe he is the next generation, the next big thing moving forward. We want to win in 2026. So if I'm looking at the negative of that trade, it's like, okay, that's great to restock. But the other side of that is, can we take some of these prospects and flip them around and maybe trade them for some starting pitching that could be available this offseason on the market?
Yeah, I think that's the other place Elias was going with getting, you see how many infielders he got. He got 5? I think 5 of the 12 were left side infielders, and then the rest were pitchers. So yeah, we'll just have to see what he ends up doing with it. But I think his thinking is okay, if we hit on 2 of these pitchers and then we can deal some of these left side infielders for so some actual big league talent, then maybe that's the route we're going to have to go. But we say all the time with Elias, he's the smartest guy in the room. He's not going to listen to you and me, and that's why we are in a situation we're in right now.
Well, I kind of like the approach in the fact that if they weren't offering as talented of players that were closer to the big leagues, like, maybe you don't take those deals. Like, I'd rather have the talent and have them be a little bit younger, because you can flip that talent. You can still flip the talent. You don't want to settle for a prospect that's not very good just because they're in AAA, just because they're a little bit closer along to the big leagues. I don't think, unless it's a, crystal clear difference, I would take the better prospect. There's no reason not to. So now he has the capital to do some different things. If he wants to hold on to a couple players, if he wants to package a few of these guys in the offseason to get one of those Marlins pitchers that didn't get dealt or something like that, he can go ahead and do that. So it gives him some flexibility. The last trade I want to talk about is Charlie Morton. He was at the last second there at the trade deadline. He got traded to the Tigers. We thought Morton would go, especially considering he's in his 40s and he's probably pitching his last season in Major League Baseball. Clearly not a part of our future, but has pitched well over the last 2 or 3 months. So the Tigers were willing to take a gamble on Morton for the end of the season. And we received Micah Ashman, a left-hand reliever. John, what do you know about Micah?
Well, he's 6'7" and throws over the top. That's what they want from tall guys. They want tall guys coming straight over the top. 1.60 ERA with over a strikeout per inning in high A before he got moved to double A. Low to mid 90s fastball while working in the mid to upper 80s with the slider. He commands the zone well, north and south, while getting good movement on his pitches as well. He's never, in his entire career, he's never started. He's always been a mid to late inning reliever, and that's kind of where they think he's going to end up being. If and when he makes the big leagues, he'll be kind of a long reliever or a transition guy to a setup closer. Doesn't really have any stuff to be a closer or a high leverage guy. He's just going to be an inning eater. But you know what? We need those guys.
Yeah, and I think anything you get from Morton there is probably a bonus because, again, you're not going to sign him down the stretch. Could you use him? Yeah, he'll eat some innings for you. He'll post, right? So I guess you lose out on that for the last 2 months of the season. But, yeah, I think I take a gamble with some, grabbing a prospect and kind of letting Charlie go and maybe have a chance to win a ring, gives him an opportunity to. So show a good faith. The guys love him. You could tell they were hugging him when he was leaving, that kind of stuff. So he was a good veteran presence for us for the first half, especially of a tough season here in Baltimore. So good luck to all those players who were traded. It gives me some rooting interest, obviously, as the playoffs go along. I'm going to watch the Padres and see how Ryan and Ramon do. I'm going to keep an eye on, some of these guys, Cedric on the Mets and how he's doing up there, and kind of gives me a little bit more of a rooting interest moving forward with the playoffs. But, John, now that we have had 9 players leave vacancies on the Oriole roster, we got to find ways to fill it. And the way the Orioles do that, obviously, is they're going to bring up some minor league guys. They're going to scour the waiver wires because when these guys bring in guys, they have to, take DFA guys off their roster. So they'll be, taking a look at who's available, and they've already signed some guys off of other teams. But you're going to see that kind of stuff go on here. We had a series this weekend versus the Cubs in Wrigley, right? Orioles lose 2-3. John, do you want to talk about number 1, the series, and number 2, how some of the trade deadline implications impacted that series?
Well, I mean, you look at it. We lost 1-0 on Friday. I think the game was over in what, like an hour? It was less than 2 hours, I think, wasn't it? It was pretty
duel.
darn.
Trevor Rogers pitched amazing,
and we just couldn't get any. We just couldn't get any offense. And then Gunnar gave us the lead towards the end of the game on Saturday. And then I didn't get to catch much of today's game. I just saw that we ended up losing. But here's the thing, though, is we're gonna can we keep Bautista healthy next year? What can we do to make sure that Bautista tries to at least stay healthy? Because we're gonna have to try to fill in front of him now, because we got rid, or we traded away majority of what was in front of him in the bullpen. So I think that's going to be a big question here going forward. Is he going to stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? And is he going to be the long-term solution for the Orioles? Or if he would have been healthy, would they have dealt him, in a similar way that the Twins did, and gotten kind of those, 1, 2, 3 players in your organization? So I think they're just going to kind of piecemeal it together. And I've seen this before with other teams. They're out of contention. They trade to get the minor leaguers. Then they just kind of, you know what, we need 3 right-handers and 2 left-handers in the bullpen. Whoever's on the waiver wire, what do you pitch for? And, bring them in and get it done. Because that's all they can really do at this point in time.
Well, I mean, I like the way the Orioles competed this weekend, despite the trade deadline. I feel like 1-0, and then a 4-3 win on Saturday, and then a 5-3 loss today. You look at their bullpen, the pitching wasn't the issue this weekend. Like, I was impressed with the pitching. You got guys in the bullpen. Keegan Aiken got the save. It was a little shaky on Saturday, but he got the save on Saturday. Obviously, he blew a chance to keep the game going today in the bottom of the ninth when the walk-off home run by Justin Turner, 2-run shot. So he's 1 for 2 in those opportunities. We saw Corbin Martin earlier this week have a chance to save a game. He looked a little shaky. But you got guys that are pitching that we're not used to. Enns made an appearance today. Stroud made an appearance today. These are guys we're going to see more and more of in the bullpen. And these guys are going to get experience over the last 2 months of the season. I was pretty impressed by the fact that our pitching staff, let up a total of what, 5, 4, 10 runs in 3 games. I mean, you should win a lot of games when you let up 3.3 runs a game. The issue I had was the fact that our offense really didn't show up this series. One swing from Gunnar produces 3 runs in the 8th inning on Saturday. A great moment, one of the best moments of the year, if you ask me as an O's fan. Finally, in the late innings, a clutch hit that puts the Orioles ahead and able to close out the game. But beyond that, not a ton of offense, this weekend from the O's. So what we're looking at moving forward is an O's team that is undermanned, and they're going to do the best they can with what they got. I feel like, at the top of the order, Jackson's still hitting well. I like to see Adley's, seems to be back to his old Adley self again. Westberg made a crucial error in the 9th today. There's people questioning whether or not he should be at third base. Jackson played some shortstop this weekend. There's a little bit of those kind of questions flying around. John, do you think there needs to be any mix-up in the infield, or do you like how they're playing right now with Westberg at third, Gunnar at short, and Jackson at second?
I think that's the way that I think this team is built. I think they're built to have, Jackson at second, Gunnar at short, and Westberg at third. I don't think there's any reason not to keep that going the same route because they're comfortable with each other. They've been playing together. Obviously Westy was hurt earlier in the year, but that's the way I think Elias built this, was that those 3 guys would be here for the foreseeable future. That our left side of the infield would be set, and our second baseman would be set for the foreseeable future. And here's the nice thing too, is those guys are all capable of playing all 3 of those positions. It's not just, Jackson's not at second base because he can't throw the baseball. Jackson's at second base because Gunner's at short and Westy's at third. He's not at second base because he doesn't have a strong arm. He's just there because it's the only spot we have for him. So I think that this is, assuming that we can sign Gunner for a long-term extension and Westy for a long-term extension. I mean, this is 5, 7, 10 years worth of, a solid infield for us that, God willing, will lead us to, more success if we can get the starting pitching to go along with it.
Well, you're going to see some interesting names like you did today. Ryan Noda with the game-tying single in the top of the 9th today. Who the heck is Ryan Noda? The guy the Orioles pick up, I believe, from Oakland. And he's not a spring chicken. I think he's 29 years old. And so you're going to see some of these journeyman guys kind of filling out the roster. Jeremiah Jackson played a bunch this weekend. He got his first couple of hits. He looks like he's a talented hitter in the minor leagues. Hit for a high average, had a high WRC plus in the minors, which is really encouraging. And kind of didn't miss a beat playing in there in the infield, which is good. I think he's kind of going to be maybe the Urias replacement. Maybe can play a little bit of infield for us and kind of plug and play in different situations. I think that's encouraging. And you saw Jordan Adams out in the outfield a little bit, filling in for some of those guys we traded like Cedric and Laureano. And so we have Carlson out there a little bit more than usual. So you're going to see those guys popping in and out of the lineup. Different dynamic. Maybe we're asking them to play a little differently, maybe to use speed as an element of the game and spray the ball around a little bit, maybe a little bit less power. So you're going to see a different version of the Orioles probably over the next couple months. John, what are your thoughts on that?
I think so too. I think, we're not going to be rushing any of the guys back. We're not going to be rushing any of these pitchers back. And I think, we're going to see what we have and what we have to move on for the, for the remainder of the season and into the next off season. Did you see the Jackson to Jackson to Jackson 9-5-2 put out at the plate?
Jackson, Jackson, Jackson.
Yep. They saw it on MLB.com. But no, I think we're going to see we obviously we got to fill a first base spot, O'Hearn. We got to fill a utility spot, Urias. We got to fill a center fielder spot. We got to fill a right fielder spot. So, Kjerstad got his shot and he didn't perform. So I don't know if they're going to call him up to fill that spot of Laureano or they're just going to keep the guys they got off the waiver wire.
Well, you saw Jordan Adams, you saw Noda, you saw Terran Vavra got the call all before Kjerstad, and Dylan Beavers, who we thought might get the call, isn't up here either. So I don't know that Kjerstad's on the short list or not. I'm curious to see as things progress here into the season if he's September call up worthy, or if they look at some of these Judge Fabian, Dylan Beavers, had they jumped ahead of him in line.
Well, and what I'm not, I know you might be more familiar with this than I am. And I always wonder what starts the clock. Like, is that a reason you don't call up a Beavers, call up some of these guys to take the spots? Does it start their clock where then they're arbitration eligible earlier? I don't remember all these dates. It's confusing. I don't know if you know any of this, but there's always, remember, there was a thing back in, was it 2015, 2016 with the Cubs where they didn't want to call up Rizzo until a certain day because it would start his arbitration clock. And then they didn't want to call up other guys because it was going to start their arbitration clock. So I don't know if anything this time of year has to deal with it. I wouldn't think so, but that would be kind of the reason, you wouldn't have a Beavers or something coming up and getting big league at bats, big league defense experience, things like that.
Well, certainly that has to play a factor if that is the case. Whether or not you're going to have an extra year of control over a player makes a major difference, especially if you're looking at maybe waiting till September or bringing them up in August. I think either way, they can get called up in September and have that when the roster expands and have that extra opportunity. So I'd be curious to see what that looks like in September. I think for now, though, in August, you're going to see more of these middling veteran type players, the Vavras of the world, the Carlsons of the world, get some of those at bats and just kind of fill in as they kind of grind out the rest of the season. So don't be surprised, Oriole fans, if you see a lot of these no-name guys kind of giving you more at bats than you would expect. But the core is still there. You still have Gunnar, you have Adley, you have Westberg, you have Holiday. We're going to see what Mayo has. So you still things to be excited about. We're going to see if Tyler O'Neill's for real. So there's a lot of still major league talent here on the offense, and the starting pitching and the relief pitching is kind of going to be a mix and mash of what we got left. So hold on tight, O's fans. It's going to be an interesting kind of next 2 months of the season. Don't lose hope. Don't get discouraged. There is a plan, it seems like, but that doesn't give Mike Elias a pass come this offseason. There really is something to be proven. And there are a ton. I saw a list today. There are a ton of starters available this offseason. There are a ton of starters available by trade and free agency. So not only do I expect the Orioles to be super active in free agency, but I would even expect to see them pull a trade or two, especially you got 40 new players in your system. I think you could probably package a couple of those guys to get someone who can help us next year.
Absolutely.
All right. So John, really quick, I don't know if you saw, but there is the Hall of Fame. Adam Schefter put out the first-time eligibles for the Pro Football Hall of Fame for 2026. Obviously it's a bit early to talk about, but I'm just want to get your gut reaction here at the end of the program tonight. If I say a name, I want you to tell me if you think they're Hall of Fame or not. First ballot. Okay. You can tell me first ballot, eventually, or not. That's basically your three options. Okay. So I'm going to go through the list and I want you to kind of tell me what you think. Larry Fitzgerald.
Absolutely. First ballot Hall of Famer.
All right. Drew Brees.
Absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer.
All right. Phillip Rivers.
Let
Now,
me
the
say
Breeze
this.
Rivers dynamic is interesting, right? Because, well, not only do they have that shared history in San Diego as Chargers, one left for the other, and then they, having two quarterbacks, but one has a championship and one doesn't, but one maybe have better stats. Kind of like there's a little
Well,
talk in the
here's
room
the
probably about who makes it.
yeah, no, Drew Brees 100%. But then you got to remember you got Eli too. You have Eli too. So that's where if it's just Phillip Rivers and there's not like an Eli Manning and
But
a Drew
Eli's
Brees
not
and
on this list this year.
no, I understand.
Yeah.
But I just
Eventually
don't
he'll be on
think
the list. Yeah.
yeah, but I just don't think because he's next year, right? That's what I'm
I
saying. Is
think he
he's the year
retired a year
after.
after those guys. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm saying is Phillip Rivers is probably going to have to wait 3 to 5 years to get on because he's got Drew Brees this year, he's got Eli next year, and then I don't know enough about the following draft, but excuse me, the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's a first ballot. Eventually down the road, I think so, but I don't think first.
You think Eli's a Hall of Famer, first ballot? I don't think Eli's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I
Mm-mm.
know he's got the two titles, but to me, he's Joe Flacco with two titles. Like I don't know, and he's got a
Yes.
Manning last name, but he also has the beating Tom Brady thing going for him, which obviously is really big. But that's for another day. Jason Witten, tight end for the Cowboys.
I don't think so. I think he's an eventual Hall of Famer, but not first ballot.
Frank Gore.
He's an eventual Hall of Famer on the very outside. I think Frank Gore, the thing he has going for him, he played for like 40 years, right?
Longevity. Yes.
Longevity. Because
Longevity.
his kid is on the Bills, I think, isn't he? Frank Gore Jr., I think.
Yeah.
I think he retired a year before his kid got signed. So, I'll give him that as a running back to be that, to be in the league that long. But
yeah,
he's on the edge of being a Hall of Famer or not.
That helps your career numbers to play for that long. But
right.
Yeah. How about Julian Edelman?
Julian Edelman is a subpar wide receiver who was helped by the offense that Tom Brady gave him. I'll say no.
I'm with you on that one. Marquise Pouncey.
I would have to compare his stats and things, but I just don't think so.
It's hard to compare stats for linemen like that.
Yeah, but right. Yeah. It is. It's just linemen are always the hard because here's what you got to think about is you got Yanda, you got Suggs, you got all these other guys who are going to get in, but they're going to take the spots of these guys. And then how long is it going to be before if these guys even get a chance?
Sure. And I'm just asking for your gut. I know you haven't done any research on this.
Nah.
LaShawn McCoy.
I don't think so. Shady. I don't think he had enough. I don't think he had enough. I think he had 8 years and just one Super Bowl, and that's not enough.
Thomas Davis, linebacker.
Nope.
Greg Olson, tight end, broadcaster.
In the same class as Witten. I think it's going to be a matter of time. He was very, very good for a very long time, but I just not going to be a first ballot, but it'll eventually get in, I think, with Witten.
That tight end position is really difficult because you had that you have the Tony Gonzalez, the Antonio Gates group, and then you have the current group, which is very good with Kelsey and Andrews and Kittle. And like those guys to me all seem like high caliber, but Witten and Olsen were just solid. They weren't flashy. Right. They were just kind of solid tight ends. They put up numbers year in and year out. They were like the safety blanket for their team.
Right. Well, and then you had Gronk. You had the Gronk kind of in between, where Gronk, I would have to look at the stats on him because I don't know off the top of my head, but was he that great of a player, or was he just that voice that was good for the media and good for, and Tom Brady's blanket as well?
I think Gronk was pretty freaking good at football, but that's just me.
I don't know the stats. I have to look at him.
Alex Smith.
I don't. That's hard. That's one where it's like, okay, my heart says he's gonna eventually get there because he did some pretty good things on a football field. But then the other thing is he got beat out by Colin Kaepernick, Patrick Mahomes. Then he had that terrible leg injury in for the Redskins. That's one that may have to go to the what do they call it? The
Veterans Committee.
The Veterans Committee. Probably
No,
after he
he
dies or
doesn't make the
something.
Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Famer, John. Like, he's a good guy, good player. I enjoyed rooting for him. He's not a Hall of Fame player. Like he's a good player. He's not a great player. Des Bryant, wide receiver, Cowboys,
No.
and the
Nope.
Ravens.
Yeah,
No,
right. Not at all.
Steven Gostkowski, kicker, Patriots.
Maybe eventually,
Okay.
but it's gonna be a tough one. Unless you're Justin Tucker or a Sebastian Janikowski, it's very difficult to get in as a kicker. And Tucker may not even get in now.
Geno Atkins, I believe D-line Bengals.
Defensive
right?
tackle for the Bengals.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Defensive tackles are very tough to get in, just like offensive linemen.
Speaking of also offensive linemen, David DeCastro, Pittsburgh lineman.
Absolutely not. No Steelers should go in the Hall of Fame.
They
should be
your head
banned
completely.
That's with my
No
head
heart.
completely. They're banned. Done. Colts and Steelers, absolutely not.
Mike Pouncey.
No.
No, right?
No.
Sean Lee.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
If I have to look up some of these people, they're probably not in the Hall of Fame.
Correct. Todd Gurley. Now that one,
No.
obviously running back from Georgia, highly talented, had a couple really good fantasy football seasons, but
he didn't play long enough.
no, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer either.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Jarrell Casey. Lots of cool braids, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Defensive lineman for Tennessee, correct? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Is offense or defense?
No, I think it was defensive lineman for the Titans and the Texans, maybe. I don't know. If we got to look this stuff up, they're definitely not in the Hall of Fame. Just point blank. If we don't know who they are.
He's wearing number 99 in the picture, so I'm going against defensive lineman.
Yeah.
So if I have to figure out what line you played on, you probably are not a Hall of Famer. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's recap who's in. Fitzgerald, Breeze. I think that's it. Now, you said Rivers maybe, dependent upon what's going on. Witten eventually. You think Greg Olsen eventually. And maybe Gostkowski eventually. Those Steelers guys you hated. But other than that, I think that's kind of where – does that sound about where you sit, John?
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 guys on that list who will eventually make it in. But Fitzgerald is – Breeze held the passing yard record for how long? Like a year and a half or something? Was it 2 years maybe? He won a Super Bowl, so passing record, Super Bowl. I think he'll eventually get in, but I think Larry's the only guy who is was the best receiver in the league. Well, he was in the, you got to remember, he's in the league with like Marvin Harrison and with Calvin Johnson and, with the guys like that. And he was still as good, if not better than some of those guys who were first ballot. So I think Larry's the only 100% for sure.
Okay. These are the only, I think Drew Brees is 100% in. I think
at some point
about it. He's set so many passing records. I think he's in first ballot. I think he's in first ballot. I think Fitzgerald. Now remember, these are just first-time eligible players. There's still a bunch of other players who are eligible that obviously from the past. So
do Yonda and Suggs get in next year?
Who gets in first, Yonda or Suggs? That's the question I have for you.
I think Sizzle's gonna get in first because he plays a sexier position. Yonda was a guard. Who's looking at the butts of the guard? That's all you're looking at.
Why are you looking at guards' butts? I don't know what you're talking about.
Because that's all weird. You see.
We're gonna have to move on here, John. I don't know what you're talking about anymore, brother. No, I think Suggs is the flashier name. He's the name that's more nationally probably known, and for the average fan, you know who Terrell Suggs is. If you watch football in the 2000 to 2020 era, you saw Terrell Suggs all over the field. One last thing, John, I want to hit on tonight before we call it an evening. Savannah Bananas came to Baltimore this weekend and sold out the stadium on Friday night and Saturday. And my sister went down. I couldn't go. Obviously, I was at the beach with sand soccer this weekend. I was trying to go and get a ticket. My dad went. My sister went. They had a blast. It looked like there were some special guest appearances. Adam Jones on Friday night, and Nick Markakis and Matt Wieters made an appearance on Saturday. And apparently the fans had a rabble-rousing good time in Baltimore. John, you want to talk a little bit about what you think of the Bananas and the craze that surrounds them, and maybe what that does for the game of baseball?
Well, Buck was there. Buck was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Buck was there on Friday night.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Like, here's the thing, and people who haven't played high level of baseball, like, don't understand this. Like, okay, it's more or less fake baseball. It's more like the Harlem Globetrotters in basketball, right? But they still got to hit the damn ball. It's still not an easy thing to do, especially when you're like doing a backflip or you're on stilts or whatever else it is. And the guy's still throwing 90 miles an hour at you. So you still have to be a good enough baseball player to be able to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And you still it's not really my cup of tea because I'm like a baseball purist, but they're still amazing athletes and still you understand why people get into it. Like just why they get into the Harlem Globetrotters, who are, extraordinary athletes, extraordinary basketball players. These guys are extraordinary athletes and just, average to below average baseball players. But, you get to a certain point where any baseball player worth their salt can hit a straight fastball regardless of speed. But it's not my cup of tea, but I think it's good for the game though. Gets kids
Well,
excited.
I think it gets kids excited. I think it gets fans excited. Like they like the guys dancing around, shaking their butts out there. My sister was all about that, right? It gets um it gets the peripheral fan excited because the fan that might get bored after 2-3 innings of a 0-0 baseball game will stay engaged when they're doing backflips and they're doing dances between innings, and they bring out guest appearances, and they're not always playing by the exact rules. I think there's some excitement around that. There's just the pageantry of the jerseys. Everyone out, everyone who went to the game, it seems like, went out and got some type of banana gear at some point. They're making a crap ton of money off of these. Like, tickets were ridiculously priced when they came out originally. I think resale, you could have gotten them a little bit more reasonably, but it's a craze right now across the country. Wherever the Bananas go, I think they're in Denver next. Wherever the Bananas go, their cult following goes as well. I really like the part where they're doing some of the gymnastics. Like, I feel like that's such athleticism. Like, I think Markakis hit a pop fly to the third baseman, and he's trying to do a flip as he's catching it behind his back. Like, I'm like, there's something to be said about the athleticism behind doing some of these things. We're just kind of respect it, just like what the Globetrotters do, where they're making half-court shots 4 out of 5 times and things like that. So I do appreciate that aspect of the hand-eye coordination, that kind of thing in the game. Is it something that I see developing into multiple teams or a league or something like that? No, I hope it stays like it is, or it's kind of a one-off where you had the Globetrotters and the Generals traveling around and kind of having fun with it. I think that's kind of where the niche should be and stay. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Absolutely. I think it's a carnival. It's it's a carnival act. It's cool. It's whatever, but it's not. It's like professional wrestling, just a little bit more difficult.
Ooh, if Jason was here right now, we'd be in trouble because
Yeah,
he wouldn't have liked that professional
yeah,
wrame comment. So,
yeah.
if he,
Dave Merritt will never come back on the show.
yeah,
And yesterday was Uncle Gary's birthday, so I probably shouldn't say too much about WWE. But it is what it is. It gets people engaged. I know some kids who have wanted to go learn to play baseball because they watched the Bananas and that sort of thing. So that's good for the game. It's good for stuff like that too.
well, John, the Orioles, hit the road to Philly. I'm gonna try to get there on Wednesday afternoon. They play a 12:35 game on Wednesday. I think it would be fun to try to get up Tuesday night or maybe Wednesday afternoon. Take the kids up. I figure, from Baltimore, Philly's maybe an hour and a half. So you're looking at if I get up there around, 12 o'clock, I can get up there by noon. That means I only have to leave here by 10 or so, get back home after a 3 hour game, still by dinner time at the latest. So it's not a bad little trek to get up to Philly to see a game. I like that ballpark. If you've been to Citizens Bank Ballpark, they've got the open air concessions. They've got a beautiful stadium with the Philly backdrop, the skyline of the city in the background. Obviously, we're the underdogs this week, going into the series. What are your thoughts on, the Orioles taking on Philly over the next three? Maybe let's do our predictions. We said 3-4, right? Both of us said 3-4 over this past week. They were 4-3 because they won 3 out of 4 against the Blue Jays, and they won 1 out of 3 against the Cubs. So neither of us are winners. Luckily, we don't have to punish ourselves. That seems wrong anyway. But John, going to Philly this week for 3, and where are they after that? They're
I believe they're home.
Yeah, so they go to Philly, and I think they're home for Oakland for 3 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So how do you see those 6 games going? Give me an idea what your thoughts.
I'm thinking, well, it's tough because our bullpen is so screwed up. But my heart thinks they can go 4-2. They can get a couple, and get 1, maybe 2 in Philly, and then get 2 out of the A's, or 1 in Philly, sweep the A's. But yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll go with 4-2.
All right, I'm going to say they go 1. They win 1 in Philly. Hopefully, the afternoon game I go to on Wednesday. That's a tough ask, right? Philly's one of the better teams in National League. We have a bullpen that's kind of in disarray right now. Philly has had a little bit of an influx of talent, obviously, at the trade deadline. So you would assume their bullpen will be a little bit stronger than they have been in the past, which is one of their weaknesses. So, we get weaker there. They get stronger. I think that swings the series at least 2-1 in their favor. And then you go to Oakland. Oakland plays some good baseball. We could not get Wilson, that shortstop, out when we were in Oakland earlier this year. So they scare me. They play they kind of play team baseball. They're a little more cohesive probably than we are at this point. We're probably a little disjointed as far as our lineup is concerned. So I have concerns there too. I'm going to say we win 1 of each game. We're going 2-4 over the next 6 games. Feel free to chime in on Facebook. Send us an email. What are your thoughts on the Orioles? After the trade deadline, what are they going to do in the next 6 games? Hop on, find us on X, or we're on. Is that it, John? X? It used to be Twitter, right?
Yeah, we're on X at crabcakes_sports.
And we're on Instagram and Facebook and all those fun social media platforms. Trying to send out some more clips of some of our shows. You guys can take a look at some of our highlights and give us a like and a follow. It really helps us out. It keeps us going, and appreciate you tuning in and on Sundays and Wednesdays and watching us. You guys make it worth it, and it's a lot of fun to do. John, anything else for the good cause before I wrap this puppy up?
Nada. Nothing.
Nada. He says nada. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports. Thanks for hanging out, like I said, with us this evening. Please don't forget to give us a subscription and a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your free podcasts. While you're at it, give us that 5-star review. It really helps us out as we're trying to spread that word far and wide about Baltimore sports. Follow us on social media on all those platforms we discussed. You can find us all over the place: Instagram, Twitter, X, as they say. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us at dadbods, crabcakes, and sports at gmail.com. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, or if there's an idea you have for a show, please share. But until next time, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.
Hasta la vista.